almost wish we didn't have the next match, even though it's very hard for me to say because you know my rabid affection for hardcore style wrestling, ECW, CZW stuff, because I absolutely loved it. But can you imagine going dark and ending the pay-per-view with the shot of MJF close up and having a beer thrown at him, and after what had just happened, and that ended the show? Oh my God! Just make sure you tune in Wednesday.
There was no way they were following this next match, but that would have been a solid closer. I think it sticks in the mind regardless, but there's no way they could have followed this next match because sure enough, the next and final match that we had, and it was in the right place. I know it came after the title match, Nick, and I know it's something that would have driven you nuts had they not explained it so well, right? Again, if you explain something in logical ways, we'll swallow a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's just don't do it just because. Give us a reason.
Sure.
Why was this match on last? Because it's unsanctioned. We have to turn the lights off, and it's not an AEW sanctioned match. We're still going to allow it to happen, but it's not an AEW. It's not part of the AEW show. The AEW show ends at the title match, as AEW shows should. And if you want to stick around for this next match, you can, or you can leave, because this might not be a match for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Because if you had told me that in 2019, a major Western, one of the two major Western companies in wrestling, pro wrestling, would put on a traditional death match, I would have laughed you out of the building. And this was about as traditional a death match as you're going to get in a major Western company. Like, obviously we've had ones, as you said, CZW, Lucha Underground had some of the goriest matches I've seen on TV in years.
It's immediately what I thought of when they brought out the bag of shattered glass. I immediately thought of the 3 Stages of Hell match. Hell of War match, sorry. Not 3 Stages of Hell. Hell of War match. But yeah.
I saw... I used to go to XPW matches here in LA, and those things were just disgusting spectacles of gore and torture.
The only thing missing from this match was bundles of light tubes.
That was
shout out to CZW.
That was what I was going to say, Nick, is I think people that thought this match went too far, or there was too much, or it was too gory. I was sitting there watching it as a dude who has consumed a lot of death matches in his time and actually really enjoys them when they're done properly.
Let's just say I introduced people to a medley of CZW matches that were in the chat for watching Full Gear live with us, and this in perspective, in comparison, this was a bedtime story.
4 out of 10.
Yeah.
on the horror scale of death matches.
Yeah.
Nothing was on fire. There was no real glass. It was all basically broken safety glass.
Yeah.
Which is why they weren't getting totally shredded. They were just getting like lightly nicked. But for a major wrestling company, this is about as close as you get to a proper death match. You had a barbed wire mesh at one point that they did a suplex onto that looked truly gnarly. You had the barbed wire baseball bat, the barbed wire broom being used to sweep Kenny's back, which was a gnarly visual. As you said, the pile of broken glass.
He drug the barbed wire bat across, I almost said Dean Ambrose, across John Moxley's forehead, and he started bleeding out.
Stabbing him in the forehead with an ice pick. At one point, he had Moxley and a sharpshooter on the pile of broken glass, and Moxley had to crawl across broken glass to get to the ropes, which I thought was a great, like, obviously, it sounds worse than it actually was because it was safety glass.
Yeah.
But he crawled through broken glass to get to the ropes. That's a goddamn call.
Yeah.
What an amazing.
He'll do anything to get out of this hole. Yes.
Right.
Meanwhile, you've got Renee Young, John Moxley's wife, live tweeting the entire thing. So I had another window open off to the side with just her tweets going. She goes, yes and yes. No, I don't like this.
Yes.
Just stuff like that.
That was almost as entertaining as the match. It was her just cringing wherever she was, like, oh, God, no. There was not quite as effective was the giant board covered in mouse traps, which was a little bit goony. But
who set all those, by the way? I mean, props for setting all those,
Someone got some snap fingers. They did.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. we knew the second Moxley left WWE, he was looking for an opportunity to one of his favorite wrestlers, and also a guy I really respect, is Atsushi Onita. And if you don't know that name, Google him. I'll put some stuff up in the group about him. One of the greatest deathmatch wrestlers of all time, true Japanese legend, arguably one of the coolest entrances ever, and a guy who, if you don't know him, Moxley has absolutely based a ton of his persona and character on. Big time. Like, might owe him some money kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there was I know that ever since he left WWE, he was sitting there just dying to do another damn death match. And you could tell from the glee with which he jumped into this match how much he's just like, yes, I finally get to do it. And they're giving him an opportunity to do it. Make no bones about it. This is not the last one of these that we will see in AEW.
Good.
With the cast of characters they have there, Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, Joey Janela. We're going to have more of these. This was an introductory match, and it did not go anywhere near as hardcore as some of the stuff that we will see in the future. In addition, trust me, once Jimmy Havoc starts giving people paper cuts between their fingers and pouring lemon juice on it and stapling his own tongue, you'll see some shit. This freaked out a lot of people, and it's good because they're gently letting people into that other world that they have a lot of guys from. In addition, this was also a really smart match psychologically. Yeah. Like this was a well-worked match on top of being a spot fest and a horror show. So, and that's honestly the real thing with the death match is, yes, it's a spot fest. It's not about technical wrestling. It's about big moments that make the audience cringe and go, ooh.
Who can make the other one give up first, right? That's really what it's about.
Like, breaking down your opponent psychologically.
What weapon do I have to go get that's going to make you give up, right?
And then ultimately beating them into submission, Moxley pulling back the ring padding, and they give each other gnarly shots on the pine. Include, oh my God, Omega did a splash, 450 splash onto the pine. And that one, of anything in this match, that made me cringe the most. I was like, oh God, ow.
Well, I mean, Yorkshire Rob called out the weed eater in chat, and I'm like, yes. That's until the weed eater comes out. This is still very PG-13. So,
that's the other thing I want to point out is at no point in this match did they injure each other enough, so that either of them was bleeding at the end of the match. All of the wounds they sustained were such minor lacerations that their own sweat cauterized and wiped away all the blood by the end of the match. That's not a really hardcore death match. No. Usually, I've seen these matches most of the time end with full-on crimson masks and just gore all over the place. This one was fairly tame, and that's what I want to point out is this was an introduction to this style for a lot of people that don't normally see it on this kind of scale or on this kind of platform. And in addition, it also had an undercurrent of actual wrestling psychology. So in that sense, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a fantastic example of the style, and it was smart to have Kenny do this. If Kenny on one hand is a guy who wants to say, I'm the best wrestler in the world because I can wrestle any style and do it well. And he just proved he can do a deathmatch style, right? He's done comedy exceedingly well. He's done an hour-long technical masterclass. He's done, 5-minute, go full speed. He's wrestled a goddamn blow-up doll. All right? He's done it all. He can do it all.
Didn't he wrestle an 8-year-old girl, too? Or 12-year-old girl or something like that?
Yes. That wasn't Riho. That was someone else. Was it Riho? I don't know. I'm spacing. He wrestled an 8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And in addition, he now he's done this. Moxley, on the other hand, has been saying for years that he loves this kind of match. Now he gets a chance to show off just what he can do in it. So everyone wins here. So yeah, all around, there was a lot of flack this match caught afterwards. People who thought it was too blood and guts for a major company, people who thought it was just a spot fest. And to that I say, yes, it is just a spot fest. That is the style of wrestling match that is the same way that you have a wrestling comedy match. If you have Orange Cassidy and out there doing comedy and Joey Ryan dick flipping people, that's a style. It shouldn't be every match. The match right before this was a old school wrestling technical storytelling match. You know what I mean? Like you had a tag team clinic earlier in the show. You had your buffet of all the different kinds of matches. This was just one of those styles.
Yeah.
It just happened to be a very high profile one.
The last thing I'll throw in here is that when this came on, I knew what was coming. They did a good job preparing me for what I was about to watch, and I was sitting there eating my popcorn with eyes wide open with a huge evil grin on my face going, yes, bring it on. What turns my stomach worse is when, Dustin hits the wrong vein when he blades at Double or Nothing and gets Crimson Masked, or when Cody takes a header through the ropes onto a diamond plate ramp and busts himself open. That stuff's like, oh god, that I don't see it coming. Like that's the stuff that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, this was so my speed. If I could watch a 4-hour pay-per-view of nothing but this, and I guess I could just go back and watch some old ECW or CCW. I could go watch Sandman bust himself open with some beer cans if I wanted to. But this, I hope that this shows that there is an appetite for this style of exhibition out there. Like there has always been. There will always be
into it.
All of those of us, myself included, that are into this kind of stuff. And, I loved Jackass because I loved watching people hurt themselves and be stupid. This is kind of exactly that.
It's a little bit. It's a little on the Jackass fringe, sure.
Yeah.
But the other thing, and this is something that we say about, we've said in the last couple of weeks, but overall as well, about main roster WWE is, yes, we have let's say whatever it was a week ago on SmackDown, like Corbin and Roman in a 3-on-3 tag match on SmackDown, right? And we're, you and I who watch every episode, and a lot of people that listen to the show, we're also just sitting there going, oh my God, not this again. But at the same time, the live crowd was frothing for that match. And if I see a live crowd frothing for a match, I say, well, who am I sitting on my couch to judge how good this match is when obviously it's doing what is intended, which is entertaining the live crowd. So anyone who looks at this match and says, this shouldn't have been on the show, that live crowd was eating this up. So consider that as well. And you're there to please the crowd, and this did just that.
Yeah, absolutely.